Welcome to part 4 of this M5 GT3 build using my 2010 BMW 535xi. Now today isn't going to be an upgrade because unfortunately this one actually probably is pretty important to fix. In last video, the part 3, you guys saw I was trying to change out and fix the oil pan gasket. Well, obviously that didn't happen. There was too much stuff to take care of and stuff that I actually didn't have. So this one's gonna be a lot easier. This is the valve cover gasket. I'm pretty sure this might be the reason why there's a lot of oil leaking, as well as the oil being burnt and then coming into my vent. So this one should be fairly easy to fix, and I'm saying that with confidence because one, I don't have to have new bolts. It's literally just a brand new rubber gasket, and I have to take off the engine cover, obviously everything that is kind of by the firewall, so like the cabin filters, the weather stripping and everything like that. But then I have to pull all the injectors, take out the spark plugs, ignition coils, as well as the spark plug housing. So it sounds like a lot, but I think this might actually just be time consuming rather than anything else. So without further ado, I'm gonna go ahead and get started. So first thing I gotta do before even dismantling everything, I gotta open the hood and pop the trunk, get access to the fuse. And I'm also gonna disconnect one of the terminals from the battery just because you do actually have to move all the wiring from the injectors. So I'm a little bit scared about that because I've never done any wiring, but we're gonna get to that phase and then go from there. I think the wing is so heavy now that it doesn't pop up the trunk like it should, but that's good because I don't want it to break the glass. It's not close, but it's a little scary. Better move this guy here, and actually I broke the clip on this, so it should just come out after I rip up this guy. I got access to the fuse box as well as the 2 terminals attached to the car battery. So I'm gonna go here and do the little cheat code. And every BMW, or literally every car should have this, but this is the little cheat code. So let's see. 72. Although I did say I had to disconnect the battery and fuse, unfortunately I did this in the incorrect sequence, which if you keep watching you'll find out why. Now it's time to take off all this weather stripping, all this mumbo jumbo stuff, and then the cover. And then once I get the cover off, then I can do either A, keep dismantling a lot of other stuff, or B, I could actually go ahead. I gotta prime the car, like turn it on. Yep, sparking. But we got it. Because what'll happen is that if I don't do that, all the fuel will stay in the lines. And if I do that and I try and take it off, one, it's still pressurized, but two, it could squirt literally everywhere.
That's what she said.
So it's best just to turn on the car, like actually full on ignition, and just let it prime, let it have no fuel, and then you should be good. I know I've kind of already spoiled my mishap, but you have to watch to the point of when I realized the luckily fixable situation I put myself into. It's actually best to get this cross member bar off just because you will have to literally get to cylinder 6 again, and honestly it just make everything a whole lot easier. So that's exactly what I'm about to do, is go ahead and take this off. Engine cover's off, so now before I do anything else I have to go ahead, prime the car so that way all the fuel is kind of like gone from here, and you'll be able to hear because your car won't start. Just like normal, start up the car. Oh shit. Oh, that's not good. Oh, because I disconnected the battery. I'm stupid. I gotta... Okay, so that one's on me. You obviously have to have the battery still implemented before you do anything, because otherwise the car won't start. So disconnect the battery once you prime the car. Perfect. Do it again. Okay. One more time. Nope, still one more time. Okay, that should be good. This oil leak was bad, and I mean horrible. So horrible that a majority of the leak you can't see because it surrounds the underside of the engine. But as the video goes on, it just gets worse. Now, if you haven't thought of this already, I would highly recommend squishing blue shop towels around the fuel lines and injectors. Thank me later if you didn't. Now, it's best to remove all the ignition coils first to have better access of unscrewing the fuel lines to the injectors. At the same time, watch how bad this oil leak turns out to be. So I'm a little bit worrisome right now because that ignition coil is incredibly caked with oil. And this is only cylinder 2. And by the looks of it, there's a bunch of oil just sitting in there, which I know is pretty hard to capture on camera. If you look close enough, you can just see all that oil sitting down there. And then cylinder 1, it's clean. After taking one ignition coil out after the other, I could see the oil leak had progressively gotten 100 times worse. But you still have yet to see how bad it really is. As you can see, it's just caked on, but would this really be the cause of a bad gasket? Obviously, oil is not supposed to be there, and the only cylinder that doesn't have pretty much any oil just sitting there is cylinder 1. Every other cylinder has just about the same amount of oil just sitting on top of the spark plug. That scares me. After discovering the large amount of oil on the ignition coils, I decided to spare my misery and take off the fuel injector lines and the fuel injector rail sensors that were attached. And now it was time to take out the spark plugs, but oh boy, was I in for a big surprise, and it wasn't good. This is only cylinder 2, and it is caked in oil. Oh boy, that's not good. And after taking out the spark plug for cylinder 2, it seemed as if it only got progressively worse each cylinder after that. Really scary to see that there's this much oil coming off of just the spark plugs, and I still haven't wiped them all off. And there's still a ton of oil in the cylinder. It was finally time to take out the injectors, but first, I had to use a 14mm reverse torque socket to remove the injector bracket, and then I used an injector puller to fully remove the Index 10 injector. That's right, all of them except for cylinder 6 are Index 10 injectors. Got cylinder number 1, got 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and they're all covered in oil. I mean, look at how much oil there is. This was now the grueling task of removing all 31 steel bolts that are around the valve cover. Just as an FYI, if you're working on an N54 as well, just know that these screws don't actually fully come out. So I had to move a few extra things out of the way just to get to some of these other screws that are back over there. And then of course these guys here, super hard to get to because I had to actually manufacture my own socket. So essentially, I bought a 3/8 inch 10mm socket, but we had to drill a little bit of it because this guy here was not fitting through. So with that being said, now they're all loose, so it seems like the only thing I really have to do is disconnect these vacuum lines here, and then I can pretty much pop this off. Yep.
That nothing fell in.
Look at how bad that oil leak is. My guess is that it was indeed from the valve cover gasket and not the oil pan, or maybe it was both, but at least this one's a lot easier to get to. But Jesus, so I'm gonna clean most of this oil out and then at least try and get the spark plug housings out, and then we'll get to the valve cover gasket, which is just over there, and then honestly, should be good to just pop this back into place. But here you can see this is the camshaft, and clearly the oil leak and the burning oil fumes coming through the vents was probably the oil seeping out the valve cover gasket onto the hot metal surrounding the valve cover. At least it's getting a fresher start now. Alright, it's time to see how bad this gasket really was. Oh my god, wait, it's hard as a rock. Well, that probably explains a lot, because this is supposed to be rubber, and it's... Wow. Yep, it's breaking. Oh my god. This is not a gasket. Well, yep, that was supposed to be rubber at one point. Yep, okay, wow, it's just breaking. Yep, there it goes. Okay, well, that's it right there. Keep in mind, this is a 13-year-old gasket, but I never knew it could get this bad. Well, I think it's safe to say this has never looked so clean ever. Well, except for when it came out of the factory, but Jesus, it looks nice. And then new gasket is in. It is rubber, but we're gonna wait for a little bit and then put it in. Since it is pretty much the whole process of putting all this back together, I'm not really certain you guys are gonna want to watch that part, and neither do I. So I'm just gonna flip to when I actually get everything fully fitted and fully installed. I guess in 3, 2, 1. Wow, I finished. I can't believe I did it. It actually wasn't that hard to do. It was just a lot of like parts and pieces to put back together. Didn't lose a single screw, thank God. As you can see, I already put the terminal back on, and then I also put the fuel fuse back in as well. So this video's not ending yet. We are actually gonna turn it on tomorrow morning and then go for a little drive just to see how it performs. It's not a performance upgrade by any means, but it should theoretically help with the boost. What we're gonna do first is actually let this car start up and then run, prime a little bit and everything, because it does have to prime. I didn't even do that yesterday, even off camera. Once that happens, we're gonna go for a nice drive, see if there's any oil leaks. So actually, I took off the engine cover just now, but here we go. There's no way it started up first time. Oh, we got codes. Ruh-roh. That's no good. That's a first. Well, that makes sense, but okay. Oof. As you can tell, something was clearly not okay. I didn't know if I had a damaged wire, sensor, or didn't plug something back in correctly, so I resorted to using the code reader to find out. Okay, so a majority of these I can already tell that I was supposed to have that, but why is the amplifier? What the hell? Now I'm just... Whoa! Everything is faulty right now.